So I'm not sure if John Luke realized he was doing this, but he actually set us up nicely for this talk. Cameron Health was actually a startup started by Dr. Gus Bardy, who's our founder, and myself, coming from the Guidant Boston Scientific CRM world. That was my first job in med devices, putting in CRT, really cool technology with fine heart. So anyway, Bardy Diagnostics is an innovator in digital health and remote patient monitoring. And our initial focus is on developing the most diagnostically accurate, P-wave-centric, external cardiac monitoring patches. And so we've done that. We've launched that technology. Our next technology will be an implantable based on that same diagnostic accurate, P-wave-centric platform that we're very excited about. Our initial product, the Carnation Ambulatory Monitor, it's an up to 14-day external cardiac monitoring patch. It records every heartbeat up to 14 days. It's protected by 60+ patents, and it's backed up by multiple head-to-head clinical studies, 2 which have been published in the American Heart Journal. So some of you may be asking, why are you all different? What's so different about your technology? iRhythm launched a patch 10 years ago. There's a bunch of startups trying to figure it out in this space. Why are you all different? Well, I'll tell you, number one, it starts with our founder, Dr. Gus Bardy, who's an electrophysiologist. He's been an electrophysiologist for about 40 years, and he spent his entire career inventing different technologies to help treat and hopefully prevent sudden cardiac death. So he was involved in developing different implantable defibrillator technology, including the subcutaneous ICD for Cameron Health, which some refer to as the leadless implantable defibrillator. And so you think about somebody like Dr. Bardy, he has 250+ patents to his name. He was actually sitting in with the FDA in a review panel meeting when they pulled him out of the meeting, and ironically and tragically, his own wife, who was 53 at the time, died of sudden cardiac death. So you can imagine you spend your whole career trying to help prevent this in other people, and your own wife at 53 dies of sudden cardiac death. And to make it worse, she had some arrhythmias, she was having issues, but they couldn't tell what type of atrial arrhythmias that she was specifically having because they couldn't see the P wave. They couldn't see the atrial part of her rhythms, and he was sending her to the best electrophysiologist that he knew around the world to try to figure it out. So a year to the day after her death, he started Bardy Diagnostics in the hopes that this wouldn't happen to other people. He set out to develop a product that could actually see the P wave, get a closer look at the entire rhythm, and be a lot more diagnostically accurate than what's out there, and that's what he's done. From a commercialization standpoint, we've done over 125,000 patients. We have over 500 customers, over 1,500 unique prescribers. We are in Canada, we're in Europe, so we have CE mark, we have Health Canada clearance, 510(k) clearance. From a patent standpoint, we have 60+ patents protecting it. I mentioned the 2 studies I'll talk about here in a minute, but we've been commercializing nicely. Of the 125,000 patients, a lot of those, majority of those, are in the last 12 months. The problem in the space, the biggest problem, as I mentioned earlier, is the actual fidelity of the rhythms. Clearly from the pictures here, you can see the wires are obviously a problem, especially for pediatric patients. Just in general, they're not very patient-friendly monitors. And so not only did he set out to develop the most accurate, but the most patient-friendly monitors. The market itself is huge. It's 5 million plus patients a year just in the US, roughly a $2 billion market. And that's just the external monitoring space. If you add in the implantable monitoring space, which will be our next product, it more than doubles that market. So this is our solution. It's the 14-day Carnation Ambulatory Monitor. It fits right into established CPT codes. There is an extended code that's a Category 3 code, becomes a Category 1 code on 1/1 of next year. In terms of the value proposition, we talk a lot about comfort for the patient, convenience for the practice, and clarity for the physician. The actual report and how you present the data, we have patents around that as well. We feel like that's an important part of the overall product. The back-end solution, the patient portal, is also really important for this space. So we've targeted all three of those customers to us, the patient, the back-end support, and the physician, with three different parts of our product offering. In terms of clinical evidence, there are 2 published head-to-head clinical studies, both in peer-reviewed journals, both in the American Heart Journal. One was against a 3-lead traditional Holter monitor, where they found almost 4 times more arrhythmias. Patients were wearing both monitors at the same time. A second versus iRhythm Zio patch, same thing. They're wearing the cam patch here, iRhythm Zio patch right here. Physicians found 40% more arrhythmias, and even more, in my mind, disturbing is that 41% of the time, a different clinical outcome or different clinical, more informed clinical decision would have been made on those patients based on what they found with the cam patch. And there are a few patients where iRhythm completely missed ventricular tachycardia, so potentially life-threatening arrhythmia. These are just some additional statistics. As you can see, especially on the atrial rhythm side, we found a lot more atrial rhythms than the Zio patch in this particular study of the physicians that did this particular study. The importance of the accuracy, obviously, that determines what type of ablation procedure, what type of pacemaker, what type of ICD. There's a lot of different things that are all determined by the accurate diagnosis of the patient. So in terms of economic value proposition, clearly, if you put this on patients that are being discharged from the emergency department or observation unit, you're going to diagnose patients sooner, hopefully treat those patients sooner, keep those patients within your hospital system, and at the same time reduce readmissions, reduce overall length of stay. From a corporate timeline and milestone standpoint, you can see on the timeline over here when we got approval, when we commercialized. We started to commercialize the product in 2017, really ramped up after Series A and then Series B, the commercial team. And right now, from a commercialization standpoint, if you look at all the players in the space, you look at the non-real-time patch segment where iRhythm is dominated, we're already the number 2 player in that segment based on the volume that we have. We did just raise $35.5 million in April. That was our Series B round. All in, I think we're at $71 million. Prior to closing an additional round of funding on Friday. We have not press released that yet, so unfortunately can't disclose all the details on that, but at the moment we are fully funded. And then in terms of next steps, definitely would love to talk to people after this who are interested in talking about the company and addressing anything I haven't addressed here yet. In terms of the team, Dr. Bardy obviously is leading things, leading innovation, leading the organization. Myself, my story in terms of coming to the company, my own father-in-law died of sudden cardiac death a couple months before I met Dr. Bardy. And this is after I spent roughly 10 years with Boston Scientific and CRM, and then helped build iRhythm, and then after that for 5 years, biotelemetry, which are the only 2 public companies in the space, and both are the 2 largest companies in the space. So we're bringing on a group of people to hopefully do this a 3rd time in the cardiac monitoring space. From a board standpoint, clearly if you look at this group, Paula Violette is a well-known industry person, ex-COO of Boston Scientific. Warren Watson ran R&D for cardiac rhythm management for Medtronic for a long time. Alan Levy's taken at least a dozen companies to exit. Just a great group of people with Garheng Kong, Rick Van de Ven, Dave Timbury rounding out the board. This is our investor group, SV, Ascension, Health Enterprise Partners. That was the Series A group. They also invested in Series B. And then down below, you can see River Cities, HealthQuest, Aphelion, Aperture, Lumira, and Rex Health Ventures are all the Series B investors. And from a patent portfolio standpoint, here's the details on the patents, and in terms of the awards and other things we've won over the last couple years, here's a list of those. So really appreciate the time and look forward to catching up with some of you in the breakout session. Thanks so much.